as he continues to make a veiled threat against the royal family. Another autobiography, Spare 2.0, or as I've branded it, Spare Us. Why is Harry so desperate to get this face-to-face in Scotland?
Because he wants money.
It's happening again. Prince Harry has just made what insiders are calling a veiled threat to the royal family, a warning shot wrapped in royal desperation. He wants a meeting with King Charles this September, but this isn't about reconciliation. This isn't about healing wounds. No, this is about money. Cold, hard cash. And if he doesn't get it, he's ready to drop a bombshell. A second memoir, Spare 2.0, or as one royal expert brilliantly called it, Spare Us. That's right. We're talking more secrets, more claims, and this time the threats are heavier, the stakes are higher, and the timing couldn't be worse for the monarchy. King Charles is at Balmoral. The family is supposed to be taking a breath, recharging in the Scottish Highlands. But here comes Harry again, with a plan, a pitch, and apparently a price tag. He wants in-person access to the king. But Buckingham Palace isn't having it. Not now. Not like this, because behind the scenes, it's becoming clearer than ever. Harry and Meghan are running out of options. The Netflix checks have dried up, Spotify's gone, the polo didn't work, the podcast flopped, the merch stalled, and now, it seems like the only card left to play is royal blackmail. And before you think that word's too strong, just wait. Angela Levin, Harry's own biographer, didn't mince words. She's calling it exactly what it looks like. Emotional and financial blackmail. Desperation cloaked as diplomacy. And the reason? He needs money. Meghan needs money. The mansion in Montecito with its 16 bathrooms isn't going to pay for itself. The kids, Archie and Lilibet, need security, private schooling, luxury, and status. And Meghan, she needs to maintain a certain lifestyle. One she didn't earn, but expects to be financed. According to Levin, this isn't about love. It's not about a father and son reconnecting. It's not about a family reunion. It's about pressure, manipulation, and possibly one final swing before the whole Sussex machine collapses. Let's be honest, Harry burned his bridges with that first book, Spare. And he knows it. The public knows it. Even his family knows it. So now he's teasing a sequel. More evidence. More scandal. He's apparently got damaging material so shocking it would explode across headlines. And if the royal family doesn't cooperate, if Charles won't pay up, well, Harry might just let it all loose. This, my friends, is what modern blackmail looks like. Done not with threats whispered in palace corridors, but with book contracts, public interviews, and global platforms. And here's where it gets even darker. According to reports, Harry is still refusing to apologize, still refusing to admit fault, still clinging to the idea that he was wronged, he was mistreated, and that he deserves something. And yet, he's the one now groveling for cash. The same man who publicly questioned how long his father has left to live now wants a private audience with him. Let that sink in. He slandered Charles to millions, painted his own family as cold, uncaring, and even racist. Now suddenly he wants a face-to-face. But not to say sorry, to ask for money. How twisted can this get? And Meghan? She's in the wings, waiting, and likely pushing. Remember, this is the woman who said she found her diary right after the Oprah interview in what many saw as a not-so-subtle signal to the palace. I've got receipts, and I'll use them. Angela Levin believes Meghan's been keeping that diary for years, documenting every conversation, every moment, ready to weaponize it when the time is right. And now, with brand deals vanishing, public support fading, and Hollywood turning its back, it might just be time. But here's the kicker. No one wants to buy what they're selling anymore. The first book? People read it, sure, but they also mocked it. Remember the frostbitten appendage story? The dog bowl fight? The dramatic reenactments of palace conversations that no one could verify? It was a tabloid fever dream pretending to be a memoir. And this second book? It would have to be even more extreme, more outrageous, more toxic, and by now the public is waking up. They know the game, they've seen the tricks, and they're tired of the show. Angela says it best. They've put it all out there already. The Oprah interview was the peak. Since then, it's all been downhill. And now, if Harry wants people to care, he'll have to go deeper. He'll have to say things even more explosive, even less believable. And if Meghan jumps in with her own book, that could be the final nail in their credibility. But let's not pretend they care about credibility. They care about profit. And pain sells, betrayal sells, scandal sells. So if Meghan needs money before a possible divorce, she'll move up the timeline. That memoir she's been teasing, it may drop sooner than expected. And yet, here's the irony. The more they publish, the less believable they become. Even loyal fans are beginning to raise eyebrows. Even woke media has started backing away. Because the patterns are just too obvious, the timing too convenient, the stories too rehearsed. And the royal family, they've seen this before. They've learned the hard way that silence is often the strongest weapon. The king, reportedly, has no plans to meet Harry at Balmoral. And why should he? You can't negotiate with someone who brings a threat instead of a handshake. Harry isn't coming to apologize. He's coming with terms. Give me money, or I'll write the next book. Tell me that's not the royal version of extortion. Meanwhile, Prince William and Princess Catherine have made it abundantly clear they want no part in these so-called peace talks. In fact, they didn't even show up. William sent no aides, no reps, no acknowledgement, nothing. That is the most deliberate silence you'll ever see from a royal. And can you blame him? Harry's burned every bridge, then circled back demanding a toll. But while Harry's sinking, William and Catherine are rising. Quite literally. They're reportedly eyeing a move to Fort Belvedere, a historic estate with deep royal roots. Tennis courts, rose gardens, sprawling grounds, a new home fit for a future king and queen. And make no mistake, this isn't about luxury. It's about stability. The Wales family is focused on their duty, their children, their legacy. They're not throwing tantrums from California. They're building something real. Compare that to Montecito, where the only thing growing is the desperation. And let's not forget, Meghan's business flops are part of this panic. From jam jars to failed Netflix pitches, nothing is sticking. So the Sussex strategy, go back to what got them paid the first time, royal trauma. But now the well is dry, the sympathy is gone, and the family, they've had enough. Angela Levin put it bluntly, Harry is 40. He's not a baby. He doesn't need to be coddled by Charles or carried by William. He made his choice. He stepped away. And now he has to live with it. But instead of standing on his own, he's circling back like a spoiled child who spent his allowance and wants more, with a threat in his pocket just in case. What a fall from grace. And yet, the royal family must stay firm. Giving in now sets a dangerous precedent. If Harry gets money because he threatens a second book, then what's to stop a third? A Netflix series? A live tour? A podcast called Spare the Revenge? Enough is enough. Charles, William, and the rest of the royal firm must send a message. Not just to Harry, but to the world. The crown is not for sale. So let Harry write his book. Let Meghan dig through her diary. Let them publish every last complaint, because the truth always reveals itself. And right now, the truth is this. The only ones tearing down the monarchy are the ones who walked away from it. But there's one piece of this royal puzzle we haven't fully addressed yet. Meghan Markle's role in the background of all this. Because let's be real, when Harry gets desperate, Meghan isn't far behind. She may not be making the phone calls to the palace herself, but you better believe she's behind the strategy. She's watching the Netflix deals dry up. She knows Spotify pulled the plug. She saw how badly that cartoon project flopped before it even got off the ground. And she's not blind to the fact that Hollywood, once eager to roll out the red carpet, is slowly turning its back. The invites are dwindling. The magazine features are fewer. And the glamour is slipping through her fingers. So what's the fallback? The same trick that worked in 2021, air the family's dirty laundry. But this time, it's not Oprah. It's not a highly produced special. It's a second book. Or maybe two. One from Harry, one from Meghan. Back-to-back salvos aimed straight at the monarchy. But here's the danger in that play. It's not 2021 anymore. The world has changed. And more importantly, so has public opinion. The audience that once rushed to defend Meghan, that clutched pearls over every claim she made, is now asking questions. Hard ones. Like, why do the stories keep changing? Why do the timelines never add up? Why do they only come forward when there's a project to promote or a check to cash? And perhaps most damning of all, why are they still so obsessed with the royal family they supposedly escaped from? it's becoming harder to defend. Even the most loyal fans are starting to mutter under their breath, "Didn't they say they wanted privacy? Privacy? Please." They're on podcast mics. They're in front of Netflix cameras. They're whispering exclusives to the tabloids they once claimed to despise. Every time the money runs low or the buzz dies down, suddenly there's a new leak, a new quote, a new source close to the couple. And yet the real damage isn't to the crown, it's to their own credibility. Because now, even the threat of Spare 2.0 doesn't hit the same. The public knows the playbook. They've read the first draft and they saw how sloppy it was. Remember the frostbitten, you know what? That bizarre story from the first book that had everyone asking, why are we reading this? It turned what could have been a serious memoir into a punchline, a meme, a circus act. And if that's what Harry thought would restore his public image, imagine what he's cooking up for the sequel. And Meghan, if her book ever sees the light of day, and she drops the "I found my diary" angle, what does she really think people will believe? That she was trapped in the palace? Denied her passport? Please, that woman was flying around the world on private jets while claiming to be stuck. That wasn't a prison. That was privilege. And people are finally seeing the difference. Meanwhile, back in Britain, the royal family carries on. Stoic, silent, steady. King Charles might not be perfect, but he's no fool. He sees this game for what it is. And he knows, just like his mother before him, that sometimes the strongest response is no response at all. Because here's the truth. The royal family doesn't need Harry. Not anymore, not after Spare, not after Oprah, not after the endless interviews, the half-truths, and the weaponized victimhood. They've moved on. And that, right there, is the real reason Harry's panicking. He thought he'd always have a seat at the table. He thought no matter what he said, the door would stay open. But the longer he's gone, the less they need him. And that's terrifying, especially for a man who gave up everything for a woman who can't keep a brand alive for more than 6 months. Let's not forget, Meghan's projects aren't just failing, they're vanishing. That lifestyle blog she teased, already falling flat, the business trademarks, stuck in limbo, the jam jars, a joke on social media, even her podcast Archetypes, was quietly abandoned after 1 season and a string of awkward guest interviews. The world they built was supposed to be a Hollywood empire, a media dynasty, but now it's a house of cards, shaking under the weight of its own entitlement, and that's what makes this moment so dangerous. Because people who are desperate don't act rationally. Harry's not just visiting Scotland because he misses his dad. He's trying to squeeze money out of the last family connection he hasn't completely scorched. He's already used guilt, already used the kids, already used the media. Now he's threatening a second book. And Meghan, she's probably got the draft saved in a Google Doc as we speak. Highlighted, proofread, and just waiting for the green light. But what they don't seem to understand is this. The royal family has been through worse. They've endured scandals that shook the throne, wars, abdications, divorces, even death. And yet, they're still standing. What are Harry and Meghan going to do that's worse than what they've already done? Leak more private texts? Make up new claims about racism or mistreatment? The well is dry. The shock value is gone. And if they think Spare 2.0 will revive their brand, they're in for a brutal surprise. Because at some point, even the drama-hungry tabloids stop printing the same old sob story. Here's what's likely to happen next, and listen closely. If King Charles caves and gives Harry money now, the floodgates open. Meghan will follow with her own demands. And the cycle begins again. But if the palace stands firm, as it must, they'll send the only message that matters. This family doesn't negotiate with emotional terrorists. And make no mistake, that's what this is, a threat disguised as a memoir, a shakedown wrapped in royal ribbon. So where do things go from here? We wait. We watch. And we see what Harry does when his bluff is called. Will he really write a second book? Will Meghan dare publish her diary? Or will they finally realize, after all the interviews, all the headlines, all the pity parties, that they've lost the one thing they can't buy back? Respect. Because once the public turns, really turns, There's no PR firm in the world that can fix that. And as for the royal family, they've weathered this storm with dignity, quiet strength, and a stiff upper lip, just like Queen Elizabeth taught them. So let Harry threaten. Let Meghan write. Let the cameras roll. Because in the end, the crown doesn't need them, but they need the crown more than they'll ever admit. Let's talk about the one thing Harry and Meghan never seem to consider: the long-term consequences. Because while they might win attention in the short term with another bombshell book, what they're really doing is setting fire to any future their children might have with the royal family. Archie and Lilibet may be young now, but children grow up. They read. They Google. And one day, they'll see everything. The interviews, the memoirs, the headlines. What will they think when they realize their parents turned family grievances into paychecks? What happens when they ask, "Why did we never meet Grandpa Charles?" Or, "Why didn't we grow up close to Uncle William, Aunt Catherine, and our cousins?" What will Meghan say then? What will Harry? This isn't just about money, it's about legacy. And that's something the royal family understands better than anyone. You see, the monarchy has never been about the individual. It's about continuity, duty, the long game. That's why Queen Elizabeth reigned with such iron consistency. That's why King Charles waited decades to lead. That's why William and Catherine carefully protect their children's privacy and focus on their service instead of their spotlight. Contrast that with Harry and Meghan, whose every move is steeped in self-promotion. They don't do service anymore. They do deals. They don't attend events quietly. They bring camera crews. They don't protect their privacy. They sell it in episodes. And now here comes Spare 2.0, the nuclear option, the next tantrum in book form, a collection of receipts, diary entries, and unverified slights that will once again put the royal family in the crosshairs. But here's the problem: they already played this card, and the public knows it. With Spare, Harry had one shot to win sympathy. And what did he do with it? He told stories about fighting his brother, getting high, and his frostbitten anatomy. He aired deeply personal family conversations, cast Meghan as a misunderstood princess, and painted himself as a tortured soul who was forced to live in a palace. And the public? They rolled their eyes. Sure, some readers were sympathetic, but many more were skeptical. The book was mocked, memed, and ripped apart by critics. Even former supporters started backing away. Because there's only so many times you can blame the world before people start to wonder if the problem is you. And now, with this rumored sequel, Harry risks pushing what's left of his image off the edge. The publishers will no doubt want something explosive. Meghan, if involved, will want control of the narrative. But Harry, he may find that this time around, even the press is less interested, less forgiving, less entertained. Because the first act was new. The second, it just feels petty. And let's not pretend the palace is shaking in their boots. If anything, they've learned from the Oprah interview, from Spare, from every leak and every headline since. The new strategy is simple: ignore it. Let them write, let them talk, let them scream into the void. The monarchy doesn't chase tabloids, it endures. And this strategy, this silence, is infuriating to Harry and Meghan. They want a reaction. They need it. Because without royal drama, they have nothing. No scandal, no spotlight, no headlines, no deals, no relevance, no money. That's the real danger of their strategy. It only works if the palace plays along. And right now, they're not. Instead, they're focusing on the future. William and Catherine are planning for the next era of the crown. Prince George is slowly being introduced to royal life. The Wales family is cultivating a modern monarchy, one that blends tradition with accessibility, service with humility. They're not doing podcasts, they're not writing books, they're doing the work, and that contrast is starting to sink in. Even the media, once obsessed with Meghan's every outfit, is losing interest. The glow has faded, the fairy tale has cracked, and the endless complaining, it's just noise now. But don't expect Harry and Meghan to go quietly. They're too invested, too far gone. The brand they built depends on grievance, on victimhood, on the idea that they were wronged by the firm, misunderstood by the press, and persecuted by the public. So if Spare 2.0 drops, or Meghan's rumored diary-turned-memoir hits shelves, it will likely be more of the same, a litany of perceived slights. private stories told without consent, claims of oppression, jealousy, racism, and more. And this time, the backlash could be brutal, because the British public, and increasingly the global one, is starting to see through the spin. They're remembering the timeline, the contradictions, the way Harry and Meghan have exploited their titles while simultaneously attacking the institution that gave them. And they're asking the same question: what do you actually want? If you don't want to be royal, why are you still using royal connections? If you want privacy, why are you making documentaries? If you want respect, why aren't you earning it? That's the corner Harry and Meghan have backed themselves into. And now, with the threat of this new book, they're doubling down instead of walking away. It's self-sabotage in slow motion. And still, there's the human side of this. Imagine being King Charles, a man who spent decades preparing for the throne, who walked Meghan down the aisle at her wedding, who welcomed her into the family. And now, that same woman, alongside his own son, is threatening to unleash even more secrets if they don't get paid. It's betrayal on a scale most of us can't even comprehend. Or imagine being William, watching your brother torch everything you were both raised to protect, knowing that every time you make a public appearance, a reporter will ask what Harry might write next, knowing your own children will one day read these books and ask, why did Uncle Harry say those things? And Catherine, who has remained a pillar of grace through all this, dragged into gossip and scandal she never asked for. It's cruel, it's exhausting, and it's entirely unnecessary. But this is what happens when loyalty is replaced with leverage, when family is treated like content, when royalty is reduced to a business model. Harry and Meghan had a choice. They could have walked away quietly, built something new, proven everyone wrong, but they didn't want reinvention. They wanted revenge. And now they've reached the final page of that playbook. One last book, one last threat, one last gasp for attention before the world moves on. Because believe this, the world is moving on. And once it does, there's no coming back. No second chance, no spare 3.0, just silence. And for a couple that lives off headlines, that may be the harsh